One of the discussions that I wanted to have this week is I had the opportunity to meet up with Christine this week and kind of see some of the stuff that she was doing with her partners, building relationships. And given the environment that we're in right now, building those relationships are more critical than ever. And so I wanted to just start sharing some ideas of things that you do to build relationship with your partners, right? It could be as simple as your process for follow-up with them. It could be something you do special. I know Jacqueline does all sorts of little neat things at holidays where sends them pop rocks on 4th of July and different things just to build a relationship. So I actually just want to kind of open that up and let everybody kind of share some things that have worked for you in regards to building relationships. I know Giuseppe and Jacqueline have relationships, and Curtis too, have relationships that go way back with realtors. So what have you done to maintain that over the years and that type of thing? So I'm just going to open it up to whoever wants to share some ideas of what you do to build a relationship with your partners.
I'll go. So one of the big things that I've done with my real estate agents, like the number one thing that I do with them is I figure out who I work well with. So I don't try to work with everybody. So I try to find people who work like I do, because it just makes it a lot easier with what my process is. And I love on them a little bit more. I certainly don't turn down business from other real estate agents because that would be dumb, but I try to encourage more business with the other ones and try to find different ways to support them. So I annually will try to schedule a meeting with them to just kind of see, hey, how was last year? How'd we do? What are the goals for next year? How can I support you? And just kind of having some kind of like a mini business planning session with them on how I can, because if I know what their goals are for the year, I can figure out how to support them with that. And then trying to help them kind of just like infiltrate their spheres that they're already in. So any deals that we've done together, how do we build on those? Because it's rare that I'm going to have an unattached buyer lead that I can hand off. So instead of that, how can I help bring value to their business and bring value to the people that we're already working with together? Because if we can start getting that sphere to refer business back to the two of us, then we're generating leads together now. So trying to just kind of pick their brain a little bit and talk about different ways of doing that, and just staying top of mind with them as much as I can. Scheduling those like just check-in lunches or coffees. I'm working on scheduling because there's a handful of them that I know their spouses now too. So I'm working on just scheduling like dinners with my husband and their spouse, just so that we can have like more of a relationship with them, and just making it more about the relationship building side of it versus just doing the business. I don't ever straight up ask for leads from these guys. I just check in like, hey, how's it going? Oh, hey, I talked to so-and-so recently. Did you know, like one of my agents, one of our mutual clients just had a baby and they happened to send me a photo of the newborn. So I forwarded it over to the agent. I was like, hey, I don't know if you've seen this yet, but holy crap, this is a cute baby. Like just little things like that, just trying to keep them involved in conversations that they may or may not already be having. So that's really kind of how I go about it. And then all the other stuff just comes naturally.
And I love the part where you talked about you do the planning session with them, and really become an extension of their business, and that's how they view you. I think that's brilliant.
Another good thing to ask your agents is who, like the agents that you work with regularly, like who are their people, like who's their insurance agent, who's their CPA, who's their whatever else that they have, because then you can then build a relationship with those people and then you refer whoever you want to refer. But maybe if you're giving two names for homeowners insurance, for example, give your name and then give whoever your agent's insurance person is, because then you're helping to reestablish a relationship with another vendor. And eventually it all just becomes very cyclical and I don't know what the word is, but everything will just start kind of flowing. And you find yourself working with a bunch of people that you know really well.
A rising tide lifts all ships is what they say. Who else? Curtis looks like he's got some ideas.
Well, gosh, there's so many factors. And I think something that's positive for me now looking at what's happening is just because I've been doing this for a while, like 15, 16 years. Agents are fickle. And, you know, what I find is that happens. You had mentioned about, you know, being okay with, you know, or reconciling, you know, that they talk to other lenders or this kind of thing. You can't let that get in your head. Like Jacqueline was saying, you have to, you know, just rise above it and keep being you, keep bringing value. And just, for me, it's not about going wide. I don't want to talk to 40 agents. It just, they get these calls, great agents, they get calls every day from lots of people. And if you have an assistant calling, the best ones are just like, no, they don't have time to call me themselves. Like I'm not going to return that call, or I'm not even gonna. So it's really finding those people and newer loan officers, I would say, if you are going wide now to try to bring that in, like Jacqueline said, the ones you connect with, the ones you feel that connection with, those are the ones that are going to be the easiest to bond with. And you know, Joanne knows this, I fire agents. It's just like, if they're rude, it's like, next, you know, I don't have time for that, because, you know, you should enjoy this business too. It's a huge blessing and it's fun when you're working with people who are like that. And then it becomes easy to step into that relationship and have fun with it. You know, and in time, what you'll do is you'll build a database like Giuseppe has, like I have, you know, much less, but, and what happens is business comes from that all the time. So I could actually reciprocate and give business. You know, there's a big agent up north who I've been kind of just gently going after. And we did a deal that actually the client brought me in because we had done several transactions together, and she's a pretty heavy hitter. And then afterwards, she wanted to meet with me. She asked for the meeting, which kind of blew my mind. So I drove up there to Erie and sat with her, had coffee, and, you know, and then I sent her a lead just because I knew she was up there local, and it didn't pan out. But then she started sending me ones. Well, you know, my lender doesn't want to mess with these. And I'm going, awesome. Thank you for the opportunity. It's wonderful. You know, I just enjoy working with you. And she'd reach out, well, I like to send them a crumble cookies, you know, after this part of it. Awesome. I'm in. Let's do that together, you know, so whatever. And it's just become really fun. She's a sweet person. And it just keeps growing from that. And little by little, you know, those little bits start building a relationship. And in their mind, you become top of mind just because of the kind things you do. And then other things, what I love is following up with them in social media. Be the person who's posting on what's important to them and what they're posting on, because, you know, I don't know how much social media matters out there other than putting I mean, this is my opinion, just having a presence out there. But if they're trying, if they're pursuing it and pushing it out there, to just be kind of trolling them and be there to give positive reinforcements, to you know, just to interact with them even on the social place. So then when you reach out to them, they have that, you know, gratitude that you're supporting them there too in the public, you know, domain. So
That's
a few things I'm thinking about.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I mean, be someone that they want to do business with, right? I love that thought process. Christine, you want to share some things that you're doing? Because nobody builds relationships like you.
I don't know about that.
Hey, I had the opportunity to listen to one of Christine's agents she's working with on the phone. She had her on speakerphone, didn't know I was in the room with, and she would not just she would just went on and on with gratitude of how much he loved working with her, how she was almost protective of their relationship, like you're protective of a child type thing. Like, I'm not gonna refer you to people that are gonna waste your time or aren't gonna be good people for you.
No, she's
right?
not giving my name out to the rest of her team.
is what she's doing, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
But I don't
But
know.
it was obvious from that conversation that she's built a great relationship with that agent.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to what Curtis was saying. I think when I first started anyways, I was very strategic about who I wanted to work with, and what I could bring to their business as far as what they consider to be valuable. So whether that's doing things in the community, there's a lot of events that I do with one of the teams that I work with. I help sponsor one of the nonprofits that they work with. So depending on what's important to them and also important to me, which is something I find out before I even start working with somebody, that's really kind of the building blocks to the relationship that I continue to grow on from there. But yeah, work with who you like. You can cast a wide net, like Curtis said, but if you don't enjoy doing this and you're not having fun with the people that you're working with, it's really hard to keep nurturing those relationships. You find people you like to work with, it's kind of easy to continue to build those. Take them to lunch once a month, send them things in the mail, let them know that they're appreciated. So those are things that I'm constantly trying to do with the people that I work with.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that you do really well is you're very much involved in the community. Like, people love a sense of community. They love being part of the same community that you are. So sometimes it's not even a direct interaction. It's like, I love the Easter egg hunt that you did.
Yeah, that's
and just getting out there with them in the community and doing things for the community. Your whole idea of around the blog and how the marketplace is affecting the community. Like, you're very community focused, and I think that also draws people in and builds a relationship with them.
Yeah.
And other people too. So
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks.
How about you, Jay, man? I'm sure you got some great relationships with realtors. How have you maintained that over the years?
So I think I'm not as involved in the community. I mean, I'll do a couple events with some realtors. Like, with one realtor, we'll run at a movie theater, and I like around the holidays for their past clients, and we've been doing that for a decade. But I don't do very much. I wish I did more, but I think for me is, once you get that first shot, is just, you got to wow them, right? With everything. I think at the end of the day, that the agents that have been referring me for 10, 15, maybe 20 years is because I make their life easier. I bring the stress level down in their life, because they know that when they send someone over, when they go under contract, luckily we've had, we haven't had to push closings or anything like that. So just over communicating back to them, right? When you have updates on their buyers, when they're getting pre-approved, especially if it's taken longer, right? If you have to order BOEs or you got to submit it to underwriting a couple of times, just keeping them updated. That way they don't have to reach out to me. That's the goal. We don't do that all the time, but that's the goal. I think that just builds over time. You'll get another, after the first smooth closing, you'll get another opportunity. And as long as you keep providing no surprises, follow your checklist, minimize the drama, reduce the stress in their lives. We do status updates on Thursdays on their file for buyer, seller, and listing agent, or I'm sorry, buyer agent and listing agent. So they know, we tell them we're going to do that up front. They can rely on that. And then I have just check-in tasks built into Salesforce. So like my platinum agents, most of them I'm checking in every 2 weeks. Now, if I get to that day and I have that task and there's a check-in task today and I just talked to them yesterday, I'm just going to move it out. So, and then target agents, usually like once a month. And then if there's some, super agent that just loves their lender, but they do a ton of business. Maybe I'll just check in with them every 2 or 3 months. And then just add value. So besides for reducing the stress, what I started doing is like a Friday tip email out of BombBomb. So that goes out to every realtor that's in my database. And, sometimes, you don't really get replies, and sometimes you get a lot of replies depending on what it is. So I got this idea from Denise Donahue, some mortgage coach video that I watched at some point. So I already have a ton of videos. So I just uploaded them to BombBomb, and then I have a list of realtors, and at the end of every month, I just pull a new list of every new person I added to Salesforce that's called a realtor, and add them to that main list. And so they're getting those emails on Fridays. And just, right now, the ones that get all the replies right now are all appraisal gap, strategies. And right now I'm starting to do the next few weeks videos on, interest rates, recession, appreciation during recession, to try and find solutions to the problems that they're dealing with. We're dealing with them too, but they're dealing with them, and they're probably not, subscribing to MBS Highway, or maybe have a lot of tools and graphs. And so sometimes it's just like a social media like graph that shows that, I'm going to send one out soon here that shows that I think the last 5 recessions, like home prices dropped only during one of them, and the rest of the time they moved higher, because that's the concern they're dealing with right now with buyers that are like, should I be buying? Prices are really high. Sounds like we're going to go into a recession. This may be a bad time to buy, right? So just to help them solve their problems. That's it.
Great stuff, man.
Yeah, and one of the themes that you kind of had with a lot of the stuff is make it easy for them to do business with you. I've always thought that's the best way to approach sales in general, is just make it easy. Too often we make it hard for people to say yes to us because we add stress instead of take away stress, right? We don't bring value to what's going on. So yeah, make it easy. Anyone else have something they want to add to that?
Something that I've learned recently for people that have teams on here is, I'm sure you've seen this too as you meet new agents, where they're like, oh yeah, I used to use so-and-so, but then they got so big that I never could reach the loan officer. It was always a team member. And so even though our LOAs are doing the status updates, I want to make sure that I'm reactive when the agents call in, right? That I'm not always passing it off to an LOA. So that they can't say that about me, essentially.
Keep it personal.
Yeah.
Love it. So kind of an extension of building relationships is the art of asking good questions. I've always said that good sales is getting people where you want them to be and let them think it was their idea to get there. And you do that through asking questions. When you ask questions, it makes people think, right? Now there's a difference between asking good questions and just asking questions, right? A survey asks questions, right? And how often do people like taking surveys? Nobody likes taking surveys. I haven't met a person yet that says, I love surveys. They're awesome. There was a report that was published back in 2005 by the Millennium Project called the State of the Future, right? And they publish this every year. And it's basically a group of about 500 top industry scientists and academics and that type of thing from 50 different countries, and they put together what are the global concerns, right? What are people concerned about? And in 2005, the number 9, and it was all the stuff that you expect, like energy and global warming and that type of thing. But in 2005, the number 9 thing that people were concerned about globally was decision making. Now it's kind of surprising because you wouldn't think that decision making would be a global concern, right? But we have become when we learn things, we're taught how to do things, right? Which is good, right? We're taught how to do a process, right? And we've stopped learning, right? We stopped asking the questions, right? That go much deeper. And as they studied this, top leaders ask really good questions, right? When NASA was trying to figure out how to put a man on the moon, right? They asked really good questions, like what can we do? How do we do that, right? It's the difference between what should I do and what can I do, right? The little tweaks of and I learned this recently again, right? I know the value of asking good questions, but it's the difference between asking your kids, how was your day, right? Jacqueline's probably done this, or just after you've asked your kids, how was your day, right? And you get, that was good, right? Or you ask people, how are you feeling? They go, oh, good, great, right? You get kind of a one-word answer, right? Instead, ask, what was your favorite part of the day, right? It's interesting with my 6-year-old, like just moving the question a little bit changes the response. Questions help us make better connection, right? And part of that is active listening and really hearing what they're asked, what they're saying. But you also have to ask really good questions, right? Because when you ask good questions, you get more than data, right? You get their emotions, their values. And so one of the things that I suggest you do is communicate with intent, right? Here's a good question for you. Instead of saying, how can I help you? Like when you meet with a partner, say, what about real estate inspires you? You feel the difference between those questions, right? It just opens up some things that I think if we are more intentional about the questions we ask, we're going to change the conversation. We'll change how they interact with us. We'll change on how they open up to the conversation. And ultimately, it will change how you build that relationship with them. So I'm not going to go on all day about that, but any thoughts? Anybody want to share related to asking good questions? Nope. Okay.
It's important.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, anyone want to share a success for the week? Big wins?
It's been a tough week.
I have some good news I heard yesterday. I think it's good news.
Well, let's end on some good news. I like it.
A realtor friend had said yesterday that within the last 24 hours, I think it was 750 or something like that, new listings had hit the market.
That is
in
good
Metro
news.
Denver, which is big.
Yeah.
So in 24 hours. So hopeful,
Sounds like there's going to be a lot of shopping this weekend.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we'll wrap this up. Thanks everyone for participating today. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Make it an amazing Friday and have a great weekend.